Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Greatness in the National Football League is rarely derailed by a sudden lack of physical talent, right? It is almost always undone by a fatal flaw. Welcome to this NFL Nexus explainer. Today, we are dissecting a situation that honestly feels like it's pulled straight from a Hollywood script. Just think about the sheer magnitude of the setup here. The historic draft capital spent to secure a generational talent. The staggering array of offensive weapons, meticulously assembled by the front office. And then you have the entire city of Chicago, a legendary blue-collar football town that has been completely starved for a Lombardi trophy since the mythic 1985 season, just holding its collective breath. The Chicago Bears are standing on the absolute precipice of something historic. They've got the defensive pieces, they have the momentum, and yes, they have the phenom under center. But creeping in the shadows of this impending dynasty is a single glaring vulnerability. It is a mathematical weakness that threatens to tear this entire championship window right off its hinges. We are looking at a situation where a franchise's entire future rests on the shoulders of one man, and more specifically on one singular, deeply psychological adjustment he absolutely must make. If he makes it, the league is entirely at his mercy. But if he doesn't, well, this area in Chicago could go down as one of the greatest, most agonizing what-ifs in football history.
Just let that question hang in the air for a second. What happens when a quarterback has every single physical tool required to absolutely dominate this sport? We're talking about a player with arm talent that practically defies physics. Someone who can casually throw the ball 60 yards across his body on a dead sprint, hitting a receiver perfectly in stride. Yet, at the exact same time, he possesses an instinctual flaw so deep that it threatens to unravel his own success. We are, of course, talking about Caleb Williams, the former #1 overall pick, a player who has single-handedly electrified the city of Chicago and put the entire NFL on high alert. But as we transition into this incredibly crucial, legacy-defining 2026 season, a dark, negative narrative has aggressively attached itself to him. And here's the thing. It's a narrative built not on talking head opinions or morning show debates, but on cold, hard data. And it has set the stage for an explosive, high-stakes collision between a player's raw, unbridled talent and the rigid, structured reality of professional football.
Okay, let's really dive into this because the juxtaposition we are dealing with here is absolutely staggering. When you look at his output, you immediately see the undeniable markers of an elite, franchise-altering quarterback. Think about this. In his second year in the league, and mind you, he was working under his fourth offensive coordinator dating back to college, Caleb Williams threw for an astonishing 3,942 passing yards. He threw 27 touchdowns against just 7 interceptions. He led the Chicago Bears to a grueling, hard-fought NFC North title. By all traditional surface-level metrics, this is a phenomenal success story. You look at those numbers on a page and you see a budding Hall of Famer for sure. But then you look deeper. You uncover the kryptonite, a 58.1% completion rate. Now, I want you to take a moment to process that in context. In the modern hyper-efficient NFL, where absolute precision is paramount, where quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are routinely operating at near 70% efficiency to methodically, surgically dissect defenses, a 58.1% completion rate isn't just a slight blemish. It is a blaring, flashing red siren.
58.1%. I really want you to feel the weight of that failure hanging in the air. Let's talk about what that number actually looks like on the turf on a Sunday afternoon. It means stalled drives. It means it's 3rd and 4, the game is hanging in the balance, and the pass sails high over the middle, even though the receiver clearly had a step. It means missing the easy built-in layups that offensive coordinators spend literally all week scheming up in the film room. And worst of all, it means a gassed, completely exhausted Chicago defense is forced right back onto the field after a quick 3-and-out. The critics have absolutely seized upon this number, and frankly, rightfully so. It has become the massive, undeniable hurdle standing between Caleb Williams and undisputed greatness. It is the single metric that defensive coordinators in Green Bay, Detroit, and Minnesota are pinning to their bulletin boards right now. They are using it to build the exact blueprint to defeat the Chicago Bears. To understand the true scale of what is at stake for this franchise, we have to deeply analyze the incredible heights they reached last season, despite this glaring flaw. The 2025 run was nothing short of cinematic. They captured that fiercely competitive NFC North crown. And then, in the playoffs, Williams orchestrated a heart-stopping 2-minute drill in the freezing rain to bury their oldest and most bitter rivals, the Green Bay Packers. That's a moment that is already etched in Chicago lore. And then they pushed the highly favored Los Angeles Rams to the absolute brink in a back-and-forth overtime thriller. They were that close to the mountaintop. You see, this wasn't a team just happy to be in the postseason. This is a veteran-laden roster meticulously built by the front office to win a Super Bowl right now. And that is exactly why this completion percentage issue is so incredibly critical.
The margin for error in January football is razor thin, and 58.1% is a margin that will eventually get you sent home shivering in the cold.
Which brings us to this pivotal offseason. Caleb Williams is intensely aware of the narrative trailing him. Trust me, he hears the whispers. He sees the analytics. But he did not choose to quietly work on it in the shadows, just hoping it would fade away. During a highly publicized appearance on the podcast Pardon My Take, Williams did something really unusual for a franchise quarterback. This wasn't some stiff, heavily PR-managed press conference at the facility. This was a candid, unfiltered environment where he really let his guard down. And in that setting, he didn't just give a casual off-season interview. He issued what can only be described as a definitive battle cry against his critics. He addressed the 58.1% elephant in the room head-on. This is a young quarterback who isn't hiding from his fatal flaw. He is actively declaring war on it.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating about this slide is the intense internal fire it exposes. Look closely at the phrasing he used here. We'll get it up just to shut everybody up and help them understand. He fully acknowledges that some of the chaotic, off-script things he does on the field negatively impact that raw completion percentage. But notice what he doesn't do. He isn't making excuses, he isn't deflecting blame to his offensive line or his receivers, he is openly stating his primary motivation for grinding through this offseason. He wants to silence the noise. He wants to shut the critics down completely. This right here is the mentality of a cold-blooded competitor who realizes that the only way to kill a negative narrative in the National Football League is with undeniable, surgical execution on the field.
But the quote actually continues, and this second half demonstrates a really profound evolution in his fundamental understanding of the game. He says, "We'll make everybody's heart feel warm and lovely, and it'll also help us in the long run of winning games and starting games better, starting games faster, doing all those things." Williams isn't just fixing his completion rate for his own ego, or just to appease the stat geeks on Twitter. He recognizes the immense tactical ripple effect this has. He understands that hitting the easy, high-percentage throws dictates the entire tempo of a football game. Sustaining drives keeps the opposing offense freezing over there on the sidelines. It allows his offensive coordinator to establish the run game, leaning heavily on the offensive line to brutally wear down the defensive front. This single adjustment isn't just about passing efficiency. It is the absolute key to unlocking the full, terrifying, multi-dimensional potential of this Chicago Bears offense.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the whole issue. We're talking about the concept of hero ball. This is Caleb Williams' kryptonite defined in its absolute purest form. It is the deeply ingrained instinct to hold on to the football for agonizingly long periods, desperately trying to force a massive highlight reel play, rather than simply taking what the defense concedes. Let's visualize the mechanics of a hero ball play for a second. Picture it. He drops back, and instead of throwing to the primary read, he bails out of a perfectly clean pocket after just 2 seconds. He's passing up a wide-open tight end in the flat for a guaranteed chain-moving 6 yards to instead scramble backward 20 yards, desperately hunting for a 50-yard bomb downfield into double coverage. Now look, to be entirely fair, this exact instinct is also why the Bears drafted him with the #1 overall pick. He routinely makes throws on the run that very few human beings on the planet can even attempt, let alone complete. But it's a massive double-edged sword. When you rely solely on the impossible, you inevitably fail at the routine.
So this sets up a monumental clash of philosophies inside the walls of Hallis Hall. Let's break down the micro details of this ideological war. On one side, you have head coach Ben Johnson's offensive scheme. This is a system beautifully designed to be highly structured. It is heavily reliant on precise timing, complex pre-snap motion, and geometric spacing designed specifically to manufacture easy yards and scheme receivers wide open against zone coverages. It's meant to provide the quarterback with easy rhythmic completions. It's a symphony. On the other side, you have Caleb Williams' raw, untamed instincts, highly improvisational, constantly scrambling, pure backyard football, off-script chaos. He is always trying to keep plays alive to hunt for the devastating big strike. The coaching staff is desperately trying to wire Williams to take the easy mesh concept on first down, to take the quick slant on second down, and to save that improvisational magic only for when a play truly breaks down on third and long. It is an immense daily tension between a highly structured coaching scheme and raw, unbridled quarterback talent. Can the ultimate improviser submit to the system? This right here is the central dramatic conflict of the Chicago Bears 2026 season. It is a battle of deep, deep football psychology. Can a player who has been heavily rewarded his entire life, from dominating high school to winning a Heisman Trophy in college, for playing spectacular hero ball, actually rewire his brain to become a precise, methodical operator? If these two powerful forces, Ben Johnson's brilliant, layered scheming and Caleb Williams' otherworldly arm talent, continue to clash, the Bears will remain a very good but ultimately flawed team that exits in the divisional round. But if they finally align, if he truly masters the system,
The consequences for the rest of the league are going to be utterly devastating.
To truly grasp the massive scale of what is brewing in Chicago right now, we have to look outside the organization. We have to look at how respected, battle-tested veterans around the league view this situation. We are talking about a prophecy laid down by Tampa Bay Buccaneers great Gerald McCoy, a man who spent a decade in the absolute trenches hunting elite quarterbacks, who knows exactly how defenses try to break a young phenom, and who understands better than anyone what actually separates a very good quarterback from a legendary one. So the crucial point is exactly what McCoy laid out here. He stated publicly that once Williams improves in this one specific area, taking the easy completions, trusting the offensive design, and raising that raw percentage, he won't just be elite. According to a man who has literally hit Tom Brady and Drew Brees, McCoy says he'll be the very best quarterback in the NFL. I want you to let that sink in for a second. Not top 5, not top 3, the very best. This single psychological adjustment spells absolute doom for the rest of the league. If you give a quarterback with Caleb Williams' unprecedented arm talent and mobility, the patience, discipline, and pre-snap processing of a seasoned pocket passer, you have quite literally created an unstoppable force. Let's move to and see how this builds into a definitive, uncompromising roadmap for this franchise. The path to the Super Bowl for the Chicago Bears is built on 3 exacting, non-negotiable steps. Step 1. Caleb Williams must fully submit to Ben Johnson's scheme. He has to trust that the play caller will get guys open, and he has to operate within the strict timing of the play. Step 2. He must consistently take the easy completions. When the flat is open, take the free 5 yards. When the quick slant is there, hit it on time and in stride. Eliminate the negative plays, the drive-killing sacks, the forced interceptions. And finally, step 3. Unleash that elite, top-tier arm talent only when necessary. Think about what this does to a defense. Imagine being a defensive back. You play perfectly for 4 agonizing seconds, you're blanketing every receiver, and then the quarterback just effortlessly flickers his wrist while running sidewise for a 50-yard bomb. It breaks a defense's spirit. If Williams can master the sequence, blending surgical, rhythmic precision with calculated moments of absolute magic, the Chicago Bears will evolve from a fun playoff contender into a terrifying, sustained dynasty. Is 58.1% truly the only number standing between Chicago and a football dynasty? As the crisp air of the 2026 season approaches, all eyes in the football world are locked onto number 18. The physical tools, they're undeniable. The elite team around him is completely ready to make a run. The brilliant coaching is firmly in place. It all comes down to a silent battle within his own mind. Will he stubbornly cling to the chaotic hero ball that brought him to the dance, risking early, frustrating playoff exits? Or will he evolve his game, completely silence the doubters, and become the most terrifying weapon in professional football? The answer to that question doesn't just define the city of Chicago. It defines the future of the NFL for the next decade. The stakes have literally never been higher. And we are going to be tracking every single moment of this developing documentary right here on this channel. I need you to take action right now to support NFL Nexus. Subscribe to the channel to ensure you never miss our deep dive analysis as this historic season unfolds. Hit that like button on this explainer so we can keep bringing you premium, highly detailed football breakdowns. And I really want to hear from you. Go down to the comments right now and tell me, do you believe Caleb Williams can fix his fatal flaw and become the absolute best quarterback in the NFL? And look, to take your support to the absolute next level, become a channel member today for exclusive perks and insider breakdowns. The season is almost here. The clock is relentlessly ticking. We'll see you next time on NFL Nexus.